Okay, so get this right. The title is Syndicate of Sins, Toxic Paradise. I mean, that title alone,
Oh, yeah.
just those 4 words,
Oh, yeah.
have me ready to, like, dive into this world, right? All this danger and intrigue.
Oh, for sure.
What do you think? Does it set the stage?
Absolutely. You know it's going to be a wild ride just from those 4 words.
Right.
Yeah.
And for this deep dive, we're not even, like, opening the book, right? We're not reading the story.
Yeah.
We're going full-on detective mode here. We're only using the front matter.
Interesting.
Like the copyright page offers notes, that dedication, table of contents, even the trigger warnings.
Oh.
So we're basically trying to get a feel for this book
Okay.
without actually reading the whole thing.
I like it.
What do you think about that?
I think of it as like a literary recon mission.
Ooh.
You know, we're gathering intel
Okay.
before we deploy.
I love that.
Right?
So we're deploying into this story later.
Yeah.
But so far,
Yes.
the intel is fascinating.
Interesting.
Honestly, I mean, for me, the title and subtitle alone, like, I'm hooked.
Yeah.
Right? Big drama vibes, maybe some romance.
Oh, yeah.
But then you get to the author's note,
Okay.
and things get even more interesting.
Really?
Yeah, it's unusual to see, like, a really personal note
Right.
from the author
Yeah.
right at the beginning.
At beginning.
She's talking about writing this book during a really tough time in her life. Imagine, right, juggling, like, incredible success.
Okay.
She's talking about reaching 1 million-page reads.
Oh, wow. That's amazing.
With this devastating news of her father's cancer diagnosis.
Oh, wow.
And then his passing.
Oh, that's...
It's heavy stuff.
Yeah.
It's a lot. And she's calling this book special,
Okay.
even with all of that.
Right.
So if she's calling it special, doesn't that make you even more curious about what's inside?
I think so, yeah.
Right? I mean, listener, what would make a book special to you
Yeah.
under those circumstances?
Right. That's a great question.
Right.
I mean, it suggests that, you know, the story
Yeah.
became her outlet, maybe even a lifeline, you know, during a period of intense grief.
Right. And she even mentions having some sequel self-doubt.
Okay.
Saying this book was built on vibes
Interesting.
and might be different from the first one in the series.
Okay.
So it makes you wonder how those personal experiences
Right.
might have shaped the story.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I mean, it's fascinating, right?
Yeah.
It suggests like this depth of emotion that goes beyond like a typical romance plot.
Right?
It feels like we're going to be exploring like some raw, real human experiences alongside all the, you know, excitement and intrigue.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
And speaking of raw emotion, let's talk about that dedication.
Okay.
It's not your average to my family and friends
Right.
kind of message.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's almost like a punch to the gut.
It is, right.
It is.
Like she writes, and I'm going to quote this,
Okay.
I'm sorry, is a bullshit condolence. Unworthy of being laid at the feet of someone who's being consumed by the greedy maw of grief. So instead, I'll offer up my hope that enough of your tarnished soul survives so that you may live again.
Wow.
Pretty intense, right?
Yeah.
You can almost feel the author like wrestling with grief, right? Right there on the page.
Yeah, the language itself is striking. Tarnished soul, right?
Yeah.
Greedy maw of grief.
It's heavy.
Yeah.
It's a somber,
Yeah.
almost defiant tone.
Right.
And it makes you wonder, listener, what scar the main character has
Yeah.
gone through.
Right.
What could have left her soul feeling so tarnished?
Right. Good question.
Yeah. Is this connected to the author's own grief in some way?
That's a great question.
What do you think?
There's definitely like a sense of a shared experience, right?
Right.
Woven into that dedication.
Okay, so onto the table of contents. We only have the chapter titles.
Okay.
But you can already kind of see this story
Uh-huh.
unfolding from multiple perspectives.
Interesting.
So obviously Scar, right?
Right.
But also chapters from Caleb,
Okay.
Biko,
Uh-huh.
and Kenji's point of view.
So right away, you get the sense of like this complex web of relationships,
Okay.
right? Maybe even conflicting motivations.
Okay.
Just from this,
Oh, really?
you can anticipate like a layered plot.
Yeah.
Some serious character dynamics at play.
Okay, and now for the trigger warnings.
Oh, boy.
Let me tell you,
Yeah.
there are a lot.
A lot.
A lot.
Oh.
This is definitely not a light and fluffy read.
No.
Some of them are pretty intense, too.
Whoa.
Hinting at,
Okay.
the dark themes that we might encounter
Gotcha.
in the story.
The sheer number of warnings is eye-opening.
It is.
Right. It definitely prepares you for a story that's going to delve into some heavy topics.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. So we've got this, really intense dedication, right?
Yeah.
And this list of trigger warnings
Right.
that could make even the, bravest reader pause.
Right.
Safe to say we're not heading into a lighthearted rom-com here.
Definitely not.
Right.
But it's that contrast, right?
Yeah.
That unexpected mix of darkness and romance.
Yeah.
It really, has me intrigued, And speaking of romance,
Yeah.
one trigger warning specifically mentions rivals to lovers.
Ooh, interesting.
Doesn't that just, make you crave a little bit of that delicious tension, listener?
Absolutely. And those rivals are going to be bringing some serious heat
Right.
if they're the same MMCs who are mean to the FMs.
Right, because there's another warning that suggests that.
Right, exactly.
So we're talking about a world where, passion and aggression are, intertwined,
Yeah.
where the lines between love and hate
Oh, yeah.
might get very blurry.
For sure.
Phew, okay, I'm feeling a bit hot under the collar already.
Yeah.
And we haven't even talked about graphic torture death yet.
No, right.
Come on, that's like a warning you don't see every day.
No, it's a stark reminder, I think,
Yeah.
of the brutal realities
Right.
of, the mafia world that the author is depicting.
Yeah, and remember, listener, this is called Syndicate of Sins.
Right.
So it suggests that wrongdoing isn't just a backdrop, right?
Yeah.
It's woven into the very fabric of
Yeah.
these characters' lives. They're not just playing a dangerous game.
Yeah.
They're living it,
Exactly.
Right. And it's not just about the physical danger, right? Because the trigger warnings also mention mentions of human trafficking.
Oh, wow.
So suddenly the stakes feel even higher.
They do.
Right. We're not just dealing with romantic rivals. We're dealing with a whole network of crime and exploitation.
That's right.
Right. It makes you wonder where Scar
Yeah.
fits into all of this.
Yeah. Will she be a victim of this syndicate? Right. Caught in the crossfire. Or could she be a player?
Oh.
Complicit in its sins.
Ooh, good point. I hadn't thought about it that way.
Yeah.
And remember how we talked about the author's own grief, listener?
Right.
Do you think Scar's tarnished soul
Yeah.
might be a reflection of that in some way?
Mm.
Could this be a story about finding redemption
Okay.
amidst all this darkness?
It's a fascinating possibility, isn't it?
Right.
That maybe this toxic paradise isn't about escaping the darkness, but finding a way to bloom within it.
Right.
And that brings us to another interesting detail from the trigger warnings.
Okay.
This book is described as a why choose romance.
Okay.
Now, for our listeners who aren't familiar with that term,
Yeah.
it's a subgenre where the main character doesn't have to choose between love interests. They can have it all.
Ooh, juicy.
Right.
So we might be looking at multiple love interests.
Yeah.
Potentially those same rivals who are mean to her.
Yeah, possibly.
Okay, now I'm really hooked.
Right. And remember how the table of contents revealed, chapters from Caleb, Nico, and Kenji's points of view?
Mm-hmm.
Could any of them be the mean MMCs?
Oh, good question.
Or are we in for some, unexpected twists and turns, listener?
Right.
Who do you think Scar will end up with?
So many possibilities.
Ah,
It's like a delicious puzzle.
yeah.
Trying to piece together these clues from the front matter.
Yeah.
We've got this potent mix of danger and romance, right?
Yeah.
And grief
Hmm.
and moral complexity.
But there's one more piece of the puzzle we haven't discussed yet.
Okay.
Remember how the author specifically mentions that this book is not
Yeah.
a guide to sexual positions or kinks?
Yeah, that was weird. Right.
Yeah, why even mention that?
Right.
It's an unusual disclaimer, but I think it's actually quite significant,
Okay.
It's she's deliberately challenging our assumptions about what kind of story this is going to be.
What do you think she's trying to do there?
Well, maybe she's worried about readers taking that toxic paradise
Right.
too literally.
Okay.
Or maybe she's concerned about people trying to emulate the characters' behaviors.
Right.
Which, let's face it, they're probably not the best role models.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, that's a good point. It highlights the power of fiction.
Yeah.
But also, like, the responsibility that comes with it.
Exactly. Yeah.
So we have this picture of Scar, right?
Yeah.
A woman with a tarnished soul navigating this dangerous world of sins and potentially toxic relationships.
Right.
We've got multiple love interests, intense rivalries, and a whole lot of mystery surrounding her role in the syndicate.
And we can't forget about the author's own personal grief, right?
Right.
Which seems to be woven into the very fabric of the story.
Okay, listener, time for a gut check.
Yeah.
What's your take on Syndicate of Sins so far?
Yeah. Are you leaning towards a story of revenge, redemption, or something else entirely?
Right.
Hold on to those thoughts, because in part 3, we're going to explore the bigger picture.
Right.
What does all this mean for us as readers?
Okay.
What can we learn from Scar's journey? And how can we apply those lessons to our own lives?
Welcome back, right, for the final part of our deep dive into Syndicate of Sins.
Right.
We've spent like the last 2 segments combing through this front matter, right? Like literary detectives. And listener, I have to say, I'm seriously hooked.
You too.
Right. Yeah. We've uncovered some intriguing clues, haven't we?
We have.
Tarnished soul, toxic paradise, a world of sins.
That's a lot.
A heroine about to face some serious challenges in love and in life.
Exactly. But now
comes the really interesting part. What does it all mean?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
What can we as readers take away from this? Glimpse into Syndicate of Sins.
Yeah, it feels like there's more here.
There is.
Than just like a thrilling romance.
Right, exactly.
Absolutely. Remember how the author described writing this book as her life raft, right? Yeah. While dealing with her father's illness and passing?
Yeah, and how she admitted to having sequel self-doubt.
Yeah.
Calling this story special, but also potentially very different from the previous one.
Yeah.
It's like she poured her heart and soul into these pages.
Searching for meaning, you know?
It gives me chills.
Yeah.
Just thinking about it.
I know.
And it makes me wonder, listener, do you think Scar's journey might, like, mirror that same search for hope and healing?
It's possible, yeah.
Could this toxic paradise be more about, like, finding light in unexpected places, about resilience and transformation, even in like the darkest of circumstances?
That's a powerful interpretation,
right?
And it speaks to like a universal human experience.
It does,
right? We all face challenges.
I do.
We all carry scars, right? Both visible and invisible. This story, even with its like mafia backdrop, and intense themes, seems to offer like a way to explore those complex emotions in a safe fictional space.
Right. It's like she's saying, look, life can be messy, painful, even brutal at times.
Yeah.
But even in the midst of all that darkness, right, there's still beauty to be found, connections to be made, and maybe even like a chance for redemption.
Yeah, and for a lot of readers, myself included, that's a really comforting message.
It is. It reminds us that even those who seem like tarnished or flawed or broken
are capable of growth and change.
Yeah.
It also makes you think about, like,
what's that?
The allure of Syndicate of Sins itself.
Right.
Like, why are we as readers so drawn to stories about dangerous men and the women who love them?
I think part of it is like escapism, right? Yeah. The thrill of a world where the rules are bent.
Yeah.
Passion runs high.
Right.
And, you know, love can be found in the most unexpected places.
I think so.
But it's also about, like, exploring the darker side of human nature.
Right.
Those forbidden desires and moral complexities that we might not always want to confront in our everyday lives.
Exactly. It's like holding up a mirror to ourselves, right?
Yeah.
And asking, what would I do in that situation?
Yeah.
What compromises would I be willing to make? What kind of love would be worth fighting for?
Right.
Even if it meant, like, risking everything.
Okay, listener. Now it's your turn to, like, play armchair psychologist.
I love it.
Imagine you're stepping into Scar's shoes.
Yep.
You're surrounded by these powerful, dangerous men. navigating this world of like secrets and betrayal.
Right.
What choices would you make?
Yeah.
What compromises would you be willing to accept?
Yeah. And ultimately, what kind of love would you be willing to fight for?
It's a question worth pondering.
It is.
And it's like a testament to the power of storytelling that like a few pages from the beginning of a book can spark such like profound introspection.
So true.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into Syndicate of Sins, I'm left with a mix of like excitement and anticipation. I can't wait to see where Scar's story leads and what insights she'll uncover along the way. But more importantly, I'm curious to see how this story will like resonate with each of you, our listeners.
Yeah, what resonated with you the most today?
Right.
What insights did you gain? And most importantly, are you curious to learn more about Scar's story?
We'd love to hear your thoughts.
Until next time, keep diving deep.